I would love to hear your insight on this too, because I get asked, probably the most frequent question I get asked is, how do you, and I'm putting air quotes, how do you get your kids to eat healthy? And I feel like, well, I don't get them to eat anything. I feed them. I offer them food. I never like, I'm not like, that whole, I'm not a short order cook. I am not. This is the meal that I made, but I also take into account that my kids have their own preferences and they have their own taste buds and sensory stuff. And I do take that into account. So it's not like I'm going to make a lasagna and put melted cheese over the whole thing when I know one kid really can't eat melted cheese. So I'll leave the cheese off of part of it so that I can serve that kid too. But I still expect them to, like, this is the meal I made. I'm not going to make another dinner after this. So, and I think they've had lots of exposure to all of these things. I think that they've had great education, because I'm not just saying like, this is what we eat, the end. I'm teaching them how I'm making this. They're making it with me. I'm teaching them why we eat the things together. And that's the other part of it too, that they, I think, have a lot of autonomy because they're involved in the process. And a lot of times I serve meals family style so that they can pick and choose what they want to put on their plate. And I see them get even more bold with their decision making with these kinds of approaches too. So I think that there's a lot of picky eating that doesn't necessarily need to exist. I know that there are certain circumstances where it can be trickier, with sensory aversions and different learning types and disorders and things like that. But I think that sometimes as parents, we can exacerbate the issue. And I see
Yeah.
a lot of kids on very restricted diets, even in my own circle, that is really sad and unfortunate to me. And I think that we can do a lot to shift that just by the way that we lead, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah, 100%. It's like definitely based on like modeling and education and taking the pressure away
Mm.
and figuring out, I think, first and foremost, what's triggering us as the adult. Because why are we so nervous? Of course, we want our kids to be happy and healthy and growing and thriving, but we have to figure out where that's coming from. Is that something that was a challenge for us when we were children? Did we really have really restrictive eating? Did we have parents that followed? When I grew up, my mom was all about the Pam spray and the 100-calorie packs and no oil on anything because that was bad for you. And there was a lot of yo-yo dieting back in the day.
Yes.
And that was really confusing for me and hard as a child. And so it took a lot of time for me to learn about that, not only in my graduate studies, but also, I think, personally taking the time to process it and reflect back and learn about what I wanted to teach my kids. And I think that's a big part of it, and figuring out your relationship with food and what you want, what your values are with food. And then that way you can kind of adjust those with your kids.